recording start. Okay, we're live.
Good morning. This is the first meeting of the Educational Optimization Committee. We're going to call the meeting to order and verification of quorum. So I have a recommended motion, and we'll be recording the meeting so those in the public and the staff of the district can watch at their leisure later. The time is 9:19 a.m. A quorum has been met, and the Educational Optimization Committee meeting can begin. So our first official agenda item is introduction of the members. And Steve or Superintendent, how would you like to proceed? I think for the benefit of the public and the three parents, maybe we'll begin with the three parents. And then if they're not familiar with the staff and the board members, we can quickly introduce ourselves and our positions. But I think we'll allow maybe a minute each for each parent, because I think we all appreciate their time and future effort that's going to go into this. I'd rather learn about them first quickly, and then we'll just go top to bottom here on the screen and introduce ourselves.
And if you could kindly tell us a little bit about your children in the school district and what grades your children are in, or what future grades your children are going to be in, that would be great. So I don't know who's top to bottom. Why don't we start with Jen?
Hi there. I'm Jen Ferguson, and I have a second grader in Miss Malone's class named Karis. We moved here almost 2 years ago, and I have a 4-year-old who will be in kindergarten next year. And I'm really excited to be part of this, both to have a deeper part in the community, but also in our kids' education, which is a huge reason why we chose this community.
Thank you, Jen. Shannon?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon English. I have 2 daughters. I have a 7th grader in the middle school, and I have a 4th grader at WIS, who's in Miss Corbell's class. We moved here from the city right in time for our oldest to start kindergarten. So we've been here about 8 years, and I can't believe it's been 8 years. But yeah, I've done some volunteering on the PTO, and of course been a room parent a few times. So very excited to kind of help out any way I can with this. Thanks.
And Liz, you're in 3 schools, I believe.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Dubstat. We moved here in 2019. I have 3 girls, one in 4th grade with Miss Scanlon, one in 6th grade in the middle school, and one in 9th grade in the high school. I will say that it was a big transition for us, especially as a parent with 3 kids in 3 schools. And but Weston has been amazing. We've really been well supported. Each of them have, I think, felt, and we've felt that the schools and the teachers have gotten to know them well over time. And that has meant a lot to us. So I'm excited to support whatever agendas and whatever is going on with your committee. Thank you.
All right, thank you all 3 parents. I too am a parent, as in other members of the Board of Education. So we don't take our work lightly at all. We all have skin in the game here. So we, of course, appreciate your efforts on behalf of the district and this committee. Superintendent, would you like to start, and we'll work our way with yourself, the assistant superintendent, the principals, and then Phil and Tracy. And
Sure. Sure. I'm Lisa Willett-Barbiero. This is I think it's my 38th year here in Weston. Yeah, I've probably been around the most. And I'm really excited about this because I have lived through a lot of different, as has Patty, renovations and building of the new schools and renovating the high school and all of that. So I really look at this as an opportunity to sort of provide insight to the community on, our thoughts on how to move the community forward for the next 20 plus years. I'm happy to be here. Tina?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tina Henkel, the Assistant Superintendent, echoing Lisa's sentiments as well. My experience coming from Norwalk in a very large urban, when we renovate and revise some of our structures, looks a lot different than what it may look like in Weston. So I'm excited to see how, what this evolves into and also how to support the educational environment. So.
Tracy?
Tracy Edwards, Director of People Personnel Services. Nice to see everyone this morning.
Dan DeVito?
Dan DeVito, Director of Digital Learning and Technology.
Phil Cross?
Good morning, everyone. Phil Cross, Director of Finance and Operations.
Mike Del Mastro cannot be with us today, but Mike Del Mastro is the Director of Facilities, and he is also a part of this group. And we have the principals, if they can each introduce themselves, starting at Earl Butt.
Hi, Laura Cadis, principal of Hurlbut. Nice to see all of you. This is my 10th year as principal of Hurlbut, my 30th in education. I'm also a Weston resident, and my 4 children are now all in the high school.
I guess we'll keep going up the ladder. I'm Patty Falber. I'm the principal of the intermediate school. I'm excited to be here as well. This is my 28th year as a principal teacher leader in Weston. I'm also a resident of Weston, and my kids went all the way, my daughter all the way from kindergarten all the way through the school system as well. So I'm really excited about what we can do to continue to support our students.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Doak. This is my 33rd year in education, my 15th year in Weston, and my 8th year as the principal of the middle school.
Wow, that went by quick. And then also Megan Ward. I don't see her on the call, but Megan is the new principal at the high school. And that's the, those are the, I didn't miss anyone, did I not? And thank you, June, for being here and helping us with this whole process. My my administrative assistant is on leave for a month. It's going to be a long month. Thank you.
I'll let Steve introduce himself as the chairman of the Weston Public School District Board of Ed, and then I'll finish off, and then we'll move through our agenda. Oh, you're muted, Steve.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. I'll start all over again. After 3 years, I should know that. I'm Steve Ezzies. I'm the current chairman of the Board of Education. I joined the board a couple of months ago from the Board of Finance here in Weston, where I was also the chairman for 8 years. And I was a member of the Facilities Optimization Committee, and this is the successor to that. We're going to be spending a lot of time reviewing not only the configurations of the buildings in terms of whether or not we continue with 4 buildings, 3 buildings, the ramifications of that, but importantly, not only are we going to talk about the physical structure of the buildings, but what goes on internally in the buildings. And so, I look forward to everyone's input, because the decisions we're going to be making, are long-term decisions. I mean, these buildings we're going to last for 20 or 30 years. The last building we built was WIS, which is 20 years ago. Is that effectively 20 years ago?
Close, 18, yeah.
18 years ago. And so we're going to be making decisions that are going to have a lasting impact on our educational footprint and frankly on the, finances of our town.
Thank you. I'm Peter Gordon. I'm a member of the Board of Education. And just one nuance, this committee actually, in reporting structure, is reporting into the larger committee that Steve chairs, which is the Finance, Operations, and Facility Committee. I'm a member of that, along with board member Melissa Walker. And if my understanding is correct in the way agenda items work, we'll bring our work to that committee Steve will bring the summary of that work to the public general board meeting that we hold monthly. I think the next one's December 20th. So that way, the constituents, the stakeholders, taxpayers, parents, residents all get feedback from the committee to the larger committee to the board during that meeting. So I think that's a good reporting structure.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, all of our meetings are public meetings. So we will hold, all our meetings will be noticed, and all of our meetings will be recorded.
Excellent. So now we have our third agenda item. We like working through things briskly since we all have full days. It's the committee purpose. And Superintendent, did you want to start with the mission statement that you drafted? And then we can decide which among the three attachments we want to go through briefly. So we
Sure.
can work through today's meeting.
Sure. Well, Western Public Schools has a vision statement. It has a mission statement. It has core beliefs. It's all listed on the front of the website, the district website. And for our purposes, I really think it's important to look at what the vision is that has been crafted. And the vision is, and I'm just going to take a moment to read it, our commitment to excellence and continued purposeful innovation will make Weston Public Schools the standard in designing educational pathways and environments that cultivate empowered citizens of the global community. So the idea of being purposeful, excellence, purposeful innovation, and really designing educational pathways, I think, for all children at all levels in an environment that really cultivates them to be empowered citizens. Those are powerful words. And I would encourage us as we continue our work, just as we are in the process right now of building our budget, of looking at that vision. We want to be known as, again, that our commitment makes us the standard, okay? Not only in Fairfield County, in the state, but you know, when you look globally, that Weston is known. And so that's sort of the vision. And shall I continue for the tasks that we discussed for this particular committee, Mr. Gordon?
You know, my next slide sort of gets into those weeds a little bit.
Fine.
It's
Yeah,
a good
that's
visual. And then we can discuss this.
Sure.
And we have three attachments. I think my attachment may spend 10 minutes, and it's pretty unconventional, right? It shows a lot, and the purpose is to discipline our tasks. But then we can inject your thoughts on our tasks into sort of the operating boxes.
Okay.
I don't think we'll go through the Tecton and FOC document, nor the SLAM projections. I think that's homework that I've assigned into a box. And we could also, as discussed, bring the experts in or at least virtually, and have them work through it with the staff again, and particularly the parents who may not have seen this, right? Because then they're up to speed on sort of the complexities of those two documents. So I think I'll try to open my document, and that will discipline how we sort of move forward with tasks. As I open it, I'll preface this document. Let's see if I can successfully share my screen. Can everyone see this? Has it been shared? We're good?
Yeah. Well,
okay, so there's actually two slides. One I did not complete yet, but this one is, in no means is my intent to be presumptuous, but I wanted to capture what I could at probably what I call the most unconventional thinking, because that would require the highest lift or the hardest or heaviest lift of the committee. So as we move back towards conventional thinking, we have a lighter lift. But the purpose of this slide is to show the discipline I envision moving forward for the committee. The second slide would include sort of a timeline and milestones. And why do we want to have that sort of built out pretty soon? Because the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen of the city, of the town, excuse me, asked us, could we provide at least a first recommendation, if not a more complete recommendation, in the spring, because in June of 2023, there's windows open up for opportunities for funding and mechanisms like that. So that's a lot to fill in between now and the spring, particularly with the headwinds of the holiday season and the forthcoming budget season. So I didn't want to move towards a milestone nor timeline, but that's the missing slide, and I'll have to start working on that as we start breaking into smaller groups and going about our tasks. So that's not missing because I'm remiss. It's only missing because we're cognizant of a timeline. We just haven't filled it in yet. So this is a pretty full slide, and it's a pretty groundbreaking slide. But I thought I would start with something very unconventional as an example of a conceptual configuration for us for a generation of students. And I color coded it because I'm an engineer, of course. So we can break into smaller groups and smaller chunks of work. So we're not overwhelmed with too much to do, yet we don't overlook some fine details either. That's our responsibility to the parents and the citizens of the town. So let me walk you through this for 10 minutes. And the aim isn't to generate a lot of questions. The more the aim is to show how there's so many moving pieces here that it really takes sort of distillation down to maybe 5 or 6 areas that we really need to focus on. So here's a conceptualization I came up with. Maybe it took me a year, but clearly in the last week or so, I documented it. This would be an unconventional campus, right? And I envision in this example a 5-building configuration, right? Which is interesting because we're a unique school district. We have a campus. We're probably more unique among the school districts in Fairfield County, let alone nationally. But we have a campus, so we should exploit the benefits of having a campus environment. And in this example, I look at reconfiguration and reallocation, as the superintendent had said that's the mission, and had the chairman of the Board of Education said that was the role of the FOC in sort of starting the process. And in this example, I would do something quite unique. I would make each building sort of a micro center of excellence. So each building contains something unique that as a whole, the school district offers innovation and really sort of at the highest level, maybe the most unique teaching and educational environment for public schools in the country. So I have big aims with this slide. So we could go through this, but basically you can see how now the principals who are the building CEOs become the Center of Excellence directors. We have accessibility from all students to any building. We have labs and learning areas. We have healthy learning. Mike is responsible for facilities and air conditioning, but we have social emotional learning too. And we reimagine this by how each building would function as a micro center of excellence. I look at Hurlbut having an environmental science emphasis, WIS as an ELA. The middle school is sort of something unique, sort of our athletic training, pool, climbing wall, tennis, pickleball court center. The high school is great for performing arts. I see the company perform there all the time. Fine arts. The reason I add fine arts because we want to maybe open it up to the seniors. And the most interesting part, I think, is the administration facility becomes the 5th building. And we create a robotics competition center, a drone hangar, a fly zone. We do some 3D modeling, AI lab, CAD. Pretty big dream big, but you can understand the capability. Right now we have a place that very school districts in the country have. We sort of a dedicated high-tech zone because Dan and his staff have to house computers and servers, and they have to be secure. So why not build on that fiber optic link and that bandwidth? Comes with that in the yellow box, you have revamped curriculums. So now you can see how we're progressing to how complicated our work may get us, right? There's so many moving parts, but now we have a paradigm of class scheduling that has to change. We have expanded roles and extended roles for principals and other staff. We have education leads. We have different tracks and different credits. And a big question for the district, because we pay particularly attention to this and we fund it generously in our budgets, is how does and where does SBED fit into all of this, right? How does this benefit that student body, and where can we get the most return for investment utilizing the centers of excellence for SBED? Then we have to reshuffle our priorities, right? This is a huge operating budget expanse, right? But maybe there's cost savings because we have more environmentally friendly building, solar panels, whatever we call that. Our staffing needs change. The organization of the administration changes a bit. The maintenance requirements change a lot. And we haven't explored legal policy, contractual implications. And we may well have to extend our calendar because we want to take most advantage of this reimagined campus, right? Then in the light blue box, we have outcomes. We can go through that. How does this affect portrait of a graduate? Do they choose a center of excellence for their senior essay? How does it affect our niche rankings, our Durgan State rankings? How does it affect our test scores? Our test scores as important as they used to be. How do our enrollment implications affect this? That's why the SLAM projections have a sort of a different input now, because we have space that we may have not needed because the student population may be a little smaller in the short term, but now we have space that's been allocated to a center of excellence. Can we generate revenue as a district? And then, of course, how the Western residents enjoy a greater quality of life having these capabilities accessible to them, particularly if we can make it accessible to the senior center and other residents who do not have children in the school district. So then we have to reorganize the logistics, right? Of course, I'm dreaming big. Do we have a little shuttles? Do we take the superintendent's golf cart idea, but expand it to an electric shuttle so students maybe once a week or every couple of weeks go to the environmental center of excellence for their classes in science, things like this. And this is the most important box for the parents who are volunteering their time. How do we reach out? You can see my use of RE there to the community. It's the Senior Center of La Chotte Historic Society, parental environment, process and information dissemination, because it's a fully transparent process and we anticipate a lot of feedback from the public. So that's a lot to minutes. And the point of this, of course, wasn't to absorb that. It was to show that there's many moving pieces. And I think that all have to be touched and examined, and to take some discipline to do the sort of analysis of what will come out as we move maybe from something that's particularly unconventional more to conventional thinking. So how do I break that out? This is what the task part of this is. How do we create associated working groups within our committee, right? So as shown in the agenda, we have inherited the Tecton plans that the FOC generated and has handed off to this committee. Do we need to modify our conventional thinking about space, right, as a metric? Use of space. How do we accommodate an unconventional strategy in the space we have, and a new fifth building, if possible, for this high-tech center? And then we have our enrollment projections, right, which feed into the rationale for use of space, use of buildings, curriculum, staff, all these elements. Then we have our black box, which is engineering facility upgrades. So that's just a small piece of a larger puzzle of our 21st century learning here. Build out planning. Does it enlist consultants, experts? How do we figure out reapportionment of space and property? All these things have to be examined. And the yellow box is, how do we evaluate this concept or related concepts as we move forward from a teaching perspective, right? How do we compare what we've thought about here or how this evolves against other school districts? Has any other U.S. school district with the campus thought of this or elements of this, right? I don't want to reinvent the wheel from the start. If we can find lessons to be learned, why not? And equally important, and Chairman, as he's referred to this, we want public input. We embrace it, right? So we need a comment conduit, which is something I've asked Dan to look into, right? So this is where I envision the parents have the greatest responsibility on the committee in a sense, because I envision them being our conduit to the public, whether it's fellow parents, the heads of the PTO, the residents of the town, events, schedules, feedback. Again, we are fully FOIA compliant, and we want to make sure there's excellent record keeping and there's no optics of anything but full transparency. And how do we sort and track our input? So what Dan and I discussed is we want to have the parents manage an ecoinput@westonps.org email where they can distill and disseminate to the group sort of the pulse of the community, right? And I think the superintendent and the chairman also pointed out that they should have a westonps.org email address, so we're all consistent, and it makes any FOIA requests more manageable, right? If we're all operating off the same server. And of course, I think we're all going to participate in alliances and transparencies with the community. Then, as I said, the light blue box, what's our success criteria, right? We're going down this hard tasks, and we want to know what our success criteria should be. What are we really aiming to accomplish? And I think the superintendent at a high level stated it, but maybe we should have a few sort of metrics that we come up with saying that this would be great to see in the first year of operation, the third year of operation, the sixth year of operation, that our students and our staff actually in many ways are achieving and striving and thriving beyond even maybe our current expectations. So that's a lot to share in our first meeting, but I wanted all of us to really appreciate the task at hand. And I'll stop sharing now and I'll let the superintendent add anything to this, or we can move to the next agenda item. But thank you for listening. And I just wanted to lay this all out. Did I stop sharing?
Yes, you stopped sharing. Thank you.
But I cannot see myself. Oh, there I am. All right. Well, thank you for listening. I hope I didn't scare any parents away. But that's the business of a responsible board, is to lay it out and understand the tasks. So superintendent, you want to add anything to that or maybe we'll go to what our next step should be?
I thought I would like to talk about sort of the three broad tasks of the committee, if that's okay. And I'd like to welcome Megan Ward, who was a little bit late. Running the high school is a full-time job. Thank you for joining us. So the tasks are really the first one is to study the proposals of the town's facilities optimization committee, which you all have. We know that there's a lot of material there. We are also provided with video links to get a flavor for when TechCom presented. To look through that, then analyzing the district educational programs, which we have a lot of expertise around the table as far as the educational programs and what we need moving forward. Also analyzing the enrollment projections, and everyone has been given that. Again, it's a very dense document. You look at things like what are the projections, they do low, medium, high, and we kind of have to keep all of that in mind, because not only projections, but you also have to look at things like class guidelines and what those projections, how they turn into teaching and learning. And there was a presentation the first week of December. And also that report has been provided to you, and there is a link where he goes through it, Mr. Zuba, and explains it. But those documents are really important to kind of get a handle on, because you have to look and project out on the space issue and look at it as a continuum from low, medium, and high. And then to recommend then an educational plan for Weston's future, to kind of analyze all of that and figure out how to best optimize the resources of programming and enrollment to ensure that we will be able to achieve our vision, being the standard for academic excellence. We're charged with recommending an educational plan for Weston's future moving forward for 20 years. And then to share this recommendation, and this is the important part, to share it with the town selectmen, the Board of Finance, because ultimately the decision will be made by the taxpayers of Weston. We are here in recommendation advisory capacity. This is a big decision. It's a town decision, and it will be determined, frankly, by the town as to the direction that we finally move in. So those are kind of the three tasks: to study, to recommend, and then to share that recommendation. With the town fathers, if you will, Board of Finance, and ultimately the taxpayers of Weston. We also see our role, as Mr. Gordon alluded to, is getting feedback from the town, from the parents. That's why it was important to have parent liaisons that represent all of the age groups of the children. And if you notice, we have future children, as Jen's daughter will be starting kindergarten, and Liz's daughter is in 9th grade, so that she will be going up through the high school. To kind of, you were carefully selected to represent the panel of the whole program, the trajectory of our pre-K-12 program. So those basically I see as the tasks. I don't know if Steve, you want to add anything, or Peter?
No, just let me add just one thing for Jen and Shannon and Liz. If you haven't seen the Tecton report that they prepared for the Facilities Optimization Committee and the enrollment projections, which we reviewed last week, let us know, and we'll make sure that you have copies of them. They're all in the public domain, but we can put them together and send them to you.
Yeah, I believe they were sent. Were they? Okay.
Were they?
I think
They're
so.
an agenda item.
If you didn't get it, just email. I think my assistant was one of the last things she did, send it. And please do not feel that this is a busy time. It's not going to be, okay, review and digest it. Next week we're meeting again. It's going to be a few weeks to really look at this, and over that time, and look at it. Mostly everyone else is familiar because, frankly, we've been at the meetings and the presentations.
All right, let me move on to our fourth subject, which is next steps. I think tactically, I'll ask Dan if he could set up the EOC input email address and assign an email to the three parents. So I think that's could happen pretty readily, right? So we're all communicating via the same server for tracking.
Yep,
right?
for FOIA purposes, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's perfect. See, that's a good organization. I think we'll set a meeting for in the new year, and we'll look a little bit at two things. We'll look at a simpler version of my colored task boxes, right? And a little bit of the mission, and we'll try to drill down to some manageable work that we can accomplish maybe each month, and we'll meet each month. Superintendent, does that make sense? Once a month? But I appreciate any attention to both the mission statement, the tasks, my Dream Big presentation, but all that is intended to discipline the work. So we can deliver a well thought out, well analyzed recommendation to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, so the town can make the best choice possible given our campus environment and what's ahead of us. Someone raised their hand.
I did.
Okay.
I have a question. So I realize I haven't been in the community that long, and I'm coming into this, and I'm wondering if on the heels of the work that you're doing around how we would optimize and what that would cost and what that would look like, the work before that, I'm assuming, was really looking critically at what are the areas within which we're deficient or we feel like we're lagging against our competitors or our neighboring communities, and what are the areas that we lead in that we would like to amplify and do more of. So I'm wondering if there's any background on that you could share. What are the sort of nice to haves versus the need to haves? Like, where do we really need to accelerate, and where are we doing well that we'd like to build on, but the acceleration may not be as critical?
Yeah, excellent. So that would fit in the light blue box, right? And what predates this meeting are two inputs. One is the superintendent or staff regular report to the board and the community on test scores and college enrollment, other metrics, and how we compare against our DERG, right, our comparative group in the district. But I think we want to maybe go beyond that and really dig deeper into what our competitive advantage is. It's like a SWOT analysis, right? And what maybe our disadvantages are, and certainly bolster our disadvantages, right? Bulwark them and really expand upon our advantages. And again, that's why I gave this example, right? Because it really is a moonshot on advantages. The other feeding stream is work that even predated the FOC on facilities, but certainly the freshest eyes on the state of the actual brick and mortar is the Tecton studies. And that has to be looked at closely because the use of space is not optimized. The use of the campus is under optimized. Facilities certainly are safe, but so they're teetering a little bit, right? There's some repairs that are needed, or do we defer repair but build something? I think Tecton spells that out in very deep detail. So that gives you sort of the two feeder streams, yes. And I think we're going to expand on both the periodic updates according to the Board of Education agendas on the state of the students and the staff and instruction and in curriculum and the state of the facilities. So I think it lands in our lap to move that forward and figure out what works best. So that's, and my last statement is the parents know a lot, right? Every day they either drop the child off or put them on a bus. So there's a lot of input we anticipate, and we do as a board get input, but I anticipate that we'll get across many subject areas a lot of input, and that's why yourself and your fellow parents are such a critical part of this. So we have a next step. Dan's been assigned. I think we're going to have a January meeting where we may start breaking into smaller groups, and folks can think about how those groups should be sort of formatted and maybe give the group some feedback ahead of time, whatever the superintendent thinks is appropriate for her staff. And Steve and I will clearly talk about how we discipline the work also over break. Any more questions? Then I think
Shannon has a question.
Oh, please. Oh, my little screen doesn't raise the hand. It just says that your hand raised. So I have to read it. Okay.
Yeah, just really quick on process. So I will be diligent in doing my homework between now and our next meeting. I've read some of the documents, but not all of them. So if I have, knowing that everyone's very busy and I would be mindful of that, but if I have any questions, who could be kind of our contact if we have questions in between these meetings? Would it be you, Peter?
Yes.
Nodding. That makes sense? Okay.
I'm the internal point of contact, right?
Okay.
And if you could just, Shannon, CC me in any question, because oftentimes I would, depending on the question, I might have the idea of who could best answer the question, I guess I would say.
Got it. Okay.
And one thing I want to add, I really appreciate Jen's thoughts about, what do we lead in? What do we need to amplify? What do we need to accelerate? A lot of that is going to be done with our teachers at our building level, especially. And Tina is going to be helping to spearhead that as as well as the principals in looking at that kind of view and then looking out, because some of it we may not even know in 20 years what we need, but we know based on some things that Tecton said, there are certain areas that, yes, we need to expand on. And then how does that turn into what we need for the future with space, light, flexibility, all of that kind of stuff. Antonia from Tecton really gave us a good idea. So that will be one of the things that the educators will be focusing on when Peter talks about a smaller group in January. And then I see you guys getting that information and then being able to be a conduit to the parents so we can see how the parents feel.
Any more questions? Then I think we're good. We moved through our agenda rapidly and successfully. Everyone has a busy day ahead of them. So let me go to subject 5, which is adjournment. And the time locally in Weston is 10 a.m. And I move that the Education Optimization Committee meeting adjourned on this date, December 12th, 2022 meeting. We can stop recording. I think we're good. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Peter.
Bye-bye.
Can I just ask one really quick thing? If there's a particular time that's better for you, we think this may be better for the administrators. We thought afternoons, but we have afternoon meetings all the time. Just let us know if there's any particular day that like this day does not work or anything like that. Just email me while we try to pick the next date and perhaps some time windows. Thanks.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day.